Canning is a preservation method where food is processed and then sealed inside an airtight container. This is done for a number of reasons, including extending shelf life and preserving items that may only be available seasonally. Because the process involves heating glass, a specialty canning rack or large pot is necessary. The rack allows the water to circulate around the jars without putting them into direct contact with the heat, which would break the glass. In addition, a jar lifter is the safest way to lift the jars out of this rack. Before beginning, double check the jars, lids, and bands to be sure there are no cracks or irregularities. Wash all these items with hot, soapy water and be sure they are completely dry. After preparing the jars, it's time to sanitize them. To start this process, fill a large pot half full with water and bring it to a simmer. Once the water is simmering, carefully lower the jars into the water. Keep all lids and bands at room temperature. Allow them to remain submerged in the hot water for 10 minutes to sanitize. After heating the jars, remove them and place them upright onto a towel to dry. Now that the jars are sanitized, the product can be prepared. When the product is ready to be canned, carefully fill the jars, leaving the recommended amount of space at the top according to the product. The amount of space at the top allows for expansion. After filling, wipe the rims and the threads of the jar with a clean cloth to remove any drippage. Once it's cleaned up, place the lid on the jar and hand tighten with the band. Next, using the jar lifter, lower the filled and closed jars onto the rack inside the pot. When the jars are in place, place the lid on the pot and bring the water to a rolling boil. Once the water is boiling, allow the jars to boil for the amount of time indicated in the recipe. After boiling, turn off the heat and remove the lid. From here, allow the jars to rest for 5 minutes. When 5 minutes is up, use the jar lifter again to remove each jar and place them upright onto a towel. The towel will help prevent breakage due to temperature differences. Once the jars are removed, allow them to sit for 12 to 24 hours. Do not tighten the lids as this may interfere with the sealing process. The center of the lid should be tight and not popped when pressed if the seal was a success. Canned and sealed items can be stored in a cool, dark place for up to 18 months. It's good practice to label and date each jar before storing them. Canning is a simple process that can add valuable shelf life to ingredients. This technique can be integrated in a professional setting to keep fresh items available year-round or even sold as house-made specialty products like salsa. However it's used, canning is a preservation method that every chef should have fundamental knowledge about and understand.